So today I'm going to be talking about the one, the only, A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I finished this at about 3 a.m. last night, woke up at 6 a.m., and here we are. So we're just going to jump on right into it. The first part isn't going to be too spoilery, just kind of like a general thought process on it, and then I am going to get into some spoilers and just kind of like thoughts on things that happened. So, I'm really excited. Let's do this. If you haven't read the first two books, even the beginning part of this video is going to be spoilery, so like I appreciate you clicking on it, but don't watch it. So my overall opinion on the book is that I loved it. I was very wrapped up in the characters and the storyline, and I know I say that a lot, but like these characters really mean so much to me, and so I think that it all got wrapped up very nicely. There were some loose ends in my opinion, but I think that that can be blamed on the fact that there is going to be 3 more books in this series, plus a novella, I believe. So I think that the loose ends were intentional, but I also think that it was kind of a last-minute thing. I love the political intrigue added into this book. I thought that it was very interesting, kind of seeing like how the court dynamics played out and how each court relationship was different from all the others. So I thought that was really interesting, and also just seeing Feyre being a kick-ass basically was just one of the best things also, which is, I mean, probably the best part of this entire book. I do fully understand that this trilogy was focused on Faysand, and so Faysand was the one with the wrap-up. I just would have liked like some semblance of stability towards the end of the story for certain characters, which I guess I'll go ahead and go on and get into now. That was too many prepositions in one sentence. That was not needed at all. So here we go to the spoilery section. Hello my spoilery friends. This is going to be a mess of a spoilery section of a video because I didn't make any notes. I just sat down and read the whole thing. So it's just going to be what pops into my head at the moment. I'll try to maybe edit it in like chronological order, but no promises. I thought that was really funny. On Bloomsbury Snapchat, they were like showing chapter 1 and it said Feyre as one of the spoilers before the book came out, and everyone flipped out. They were like, oh my god, we're getting at least 2 POVs. At least 2. It's not just Feyre the whole time, which means that we could see Rhysand's POV. And then it was only there for like 2 chapters of an 82 chapter book. I thought it was funny. I still loved being in Feyre's head. I was not disappointed at all in that aspect. I don't know, that's just a random thought. I thought it was funny. The very beginning, seeing Feyre like mess with the entirety of the Spring Court single-handedly was one of the most inspirational things that I've ever read about in my life. She was single-handedly like, I'm just not gonna deal with any of this. I'm going to play all of you against each other, and then I'm gonna do something out of here and go hang out with my mate. I thought that was great. I think Feyre's great. I did think that it was really interesting that she didn't know if like the mate bond was stronger when they communicated through the mating bond, and so she was trying to get that scent off of her so people would believe that it was just all a ruse from A Court of Mist and Fury. And I was like, why don't you just ask Rhys? You're communicating anyways. You don't have time to like throw it in there and be like, hey, by the way, does this make the mating scent stronger? It's just, I don't know. I feel like it's something that could have been asked, maybe even answered. Next, I loved the Feyre and Lucien dynamic in this book. I'll get a little bit more onto like certain character arcs and storylines, but overall I thought that their dynamic was really interesting and it felt very real to me. It didn't feel like they were partners in crime. It didn't feel like they were complete enemies. It was just kind of this like tentative relationship of I don't really know how to act around you and I'm just doing my best really, and I really enjoyed that dynamic of it. I loved when Cassie and Az just like swooped down, but Cassian didn't immediately jump into battle. He was like, come on, Feyre, like, come on, I taught you this. He let her fight the battle for herself, but he was still there as support, like, if you need me, I'm here to jump in, but also, like, I taught you how to do this, pull it together. This is going to be weird, I liked the scene in the I'm jumping back now, you see? I liked the scene in the forest when Feyre was about to leave and then she found Ianthe taking control of Lucien. Let me explain because that came out really wrong. We all knew that Ianthe was a horrible person and that's not really a surprise to anyone, but seeing Feyre go back to save Lucien, also not too surprising. But when she completely shattered Ianthe's hand, but not only, no, she didn't shatter it, she had Ianthe shatter her hand. Am I saying that right? Is it Ianthe? I think it's Ianthe. She had Ianthe shatter her own hand. It threw me off guard. Like, I know that Feyre was capable of that, but she's also one of the most caring main characters that I've ever read about. And so, I don't know, seeing that morally gray side of her was really interesting to me, and I definitely enjoyed that that was an aspect that was thrown into this book. Can we appreciate the cover? We're just going to take a quick intermission and appreciate Charlie Bowater's cover. She designed this dress, and then it was put on the cover. And what kind of artistic dream is that? Look at her, she's so strong. Hand on her hip. Got a sword. I am literally in awe. I'm gonna get on into my criticism of this book. I'm just gonna make it real quick. Just, you know, some constructive criticism, things that I may not have liked. Everyone has their opinions. If you loved it, that's great. But I just had, like, certain things that set me the wrong way, you know? Real quick. The scene where they went to the Court of Nightmares and Eris and Kier, Moore's father and recently forced marriage and abuser, were both brought into the room without Moore's knowing, that did not feel very Rhys to me. I know that he said that he always had to make tough decisions during war, and I completely understand that. But I think that he would have let Moore know that her abuser was about to walk through the door. That just kind of, like, I don't know, it irked me. It didn't feel like he would let her prepare herself for that. He would let her make the decision of, like, building herself up for that kind of surprise. So I don't know. I didn't really like that. Okay, this one's like, I hated it and I loved it. Feyre not really fighting in the final battle. The reason that I liked it is because she had fought in that one battle at the Summer Court, and it just threw her completely off. It was her first battle. She reacted as one should. She threw up multiple times. Her first kills were difficult. Every kill after that was hard. Like, it was a very real reaction, I felt like. But her not fighting in the final battle caught me off guard because she has all of these powers, and we were told about all of these, and we've seen them kind of like in little bursts, and I feel like the biggest time we saw them was when she was fighting Volaris in A Court of Mist and Fury, and she didn't even have full control over her powers then. So I liked seeing, like, her progression of learning how to use the powers, and even using her, like, wings from shape-shifting from the Spring Court and learning how to fly and all of that, and I really liked seeing that she was struggling with that, and she didn't just, like, get everything perfect right off the bat. But I still felt like, I don't know, it was a little bit anticlimactic to not have our main character fighting in the main battle. Because Rhys wouldn't have wanted her to fight, but he would have let her if she really tried to, and I feel like Feyre would have tried to. I know that she had to be with the cauldron and everything, but it just kind of, I don't know, I don't know. Oh, deaths! Okay, the Suriel was by far the second saddest death, compared to Rhys. I mean, Rhys, I had to take a minute, multiple minutes, but I mean, aside from Rhys dying, which, like, when he died, my heart broke, my heart shattered, like, cracked in 50 pieces, but at the same time I was like, I don't think that he's dead and gone. I think that he's gonna come back. So I was just kind of like speed reading pages, just waiting for that moment when it was like, Rhys said something dumb. So what did he do? He said something dumb, as Rhys would. So aside from that, the Suriel was definitely, like, the saddest real death. I'm still very upset about that. I liked how Feyre dealt with Ianthe and the two Hybern guards. Like, she didn't destroy them herself. She understood that she didn't have the power at her disposal to do it at that moment. And so she just led them into the Weaver's house. And the Weaver was like, what'd you bring for me? And Feyre's like, here you go, 3 meals, and shut the door and ran off. So I thought that was really interesting. And then as the repercussions from that, I liked that her court was like, you can't go off doing things without telling anyone. I mean, she definitely can, and she definitely did, and I support her decision in every single way. But I think that it's also interesting that Nesta stayed by her side that entire time and didn't tell anybody what she was doing, although I don't think she knew what she was doing. But she didn't rat her out or anything, and then Rhys was like, oh my god, I'm terrified, and I was like, my heart. There's the Bone Carver, who, by the way, is just a hilarious little jerk, because he was like, oh, I didn't actually want this Ouroboros mirror. I didn't actually want this Ouroboros? I don't know. Ouroboros? I didn't actually want this Ouroboros mirror. I just wanted to know if you were worthy to fight for. So, like, congrats, you are. I'll come now. He didn't need it. It was comedic to me. Feyre saw hers and Rhys's son, and then took him on the battlefield, and then saw her son die, and was just like, well, the Bone Carver. And I'm like, no, you just saw your son die. I realize that you don't know your son yet, but that's still what kind of, like, hit her, I feel like. She would, like, there's, like, pieces of Rhys, and, like, I feel like seeing any part of Rhys die would have killed her on the inside. Not to mention that later on she did see the real Rhys die. I appreciated more being a lesbian, but it also just kind of felt like thrown in representation. I understand that she was getting a lot of hate for not having any representation in her books, which is, like, warranted. Don't be a jerk about it, but, I mean, representation is needed. And so I felt like it was kind of thrown in there. I don't think, it didn't feel like it was planned from the beginning that she was going to, and that was another thing. Like, I wanted more closure on that storyline with her and Az. Not that, like, she's required to come out to everyone, but you could put closure there with him after the final battle without coming out, I feel like. If I'm being offensive right now, like, let me know, tell me how to not to do it again, but it just kind of, I don't know, it just didn't feel right. Not her being a lesbian, that was fine. I appreciated, like, the attempt at representation, but just the storyline of her and I felt like, I don't know. Speaking of more, we're just going ahead and get into characters now because this is where this video is going. So, Mora, I feel like, was wasted potential in this book. I loved her. She's such a great character, but we were told time and time again, like, she's the Morrigan, and she fought in the big war, and everybody knows her, and she's this, like, all-encompassing being who went against Amren and somehow survived, and then we didn't ever really get to see that in this book. She fought in the battle once, maybe? Twice, maybe. We didn't get to see this, like, overtaking power of hers. I don't know, I was expecting it, so it was surprising to not see it happen, so that makes me think, like, what if she's going to be in the other books? That's the dangerous thing with this book, is that the main characters are going to be in other books, so I feel like it's easy to blame it on that. One thing that I did really enjoy was Az in this book. I loved seeing more of his personality and his just kind of dry humor, but he is so incredibly loyal, and so I really enjoyed his friendship with Elaine. It's a friendship. No one can tell me any different. I don't want everybody getting paired off. I don't want that. Because, one, Amren is ace, and, like, you can't tell me any different. So, her and Varian didn't happen. They have a wonderful friendship. I'm sure they're very happy together. But I don't want Azriel and Elaine to be a thing. I think that it would be interesting in the aspect of, like, Elaine rejecting the mate bond with Lucian. But can people just be friends? Like, I realize that the Inner Court is mainly friends, but even with that, there's, like, the whole mixed up thing with Cassian and Mor and Azriel, who is, like, 3/5 of the original Inner Court. So, just throwing that out there. Next, we have Cassian, who I thought was not out of character in this book. I've seen a lot of people saying that he's out of character, but I don't think that he is. I think we're just getting to see more of his character, because as much as we came to love the people of the Inner Court and the Court of Mist and Fury, we didn't really know them very well. We caught on to kind of instances, we caught on to, like, how great of people they were, but we didn't completely know much of their past or how it affects who they are today and in the future, and so Cassian is just this, like, crazy human being, to be completely honest. He just, like, runs into battle, he's super powerful, and he's super nice to everyone he meets. I liked Lucian as a character. I thought that it was hilarious. I'm gonna tie Tamlin and Lucian together for this. The fact that Tamlin was a main character in A Court of Thorns and Roses, and then you get to the last book, and he's, like, barely a side character is just, like, jaw-dropping. I love it. I love that a main character was, like, sidelined for very good reasons, and he was just kind of there. And he, like, caught me off guard multiple times. It was super interesting reading the conversations between him and the rest of the courts, but, and then he was like, I'm a spy, and I'm gonna protect you, but, like, also, here, I will be the last person to help you save Rhys, because, oh, I did enjoy that part. I'm jumping around again. Okay, so when Rhys died, they did the exact same thing as when Feyre died, and all of the high courts gave him, like, pieces of their power to bring him back to life, and I liked that Tamlin was, like, the symbolic being the last person to help Feyre and kind of, like, having that decision-making. But anyways, back to him as a person. I liked that he was just completely sidelined, because it wasn't a redemption arc, but it wasn't just outright revenge. Feyre was, like, comfortable with where they left off. She was happy. He wasn't hurting anybody else, but he was, like, being a decent human being, and I'm like, I don't know, do you, like, want a trophy or something? You're just being decent. Congrats. Congrats on being decent. But with Lucian, I think that by the way, they have last names. What is Rhysand's last name? These are the facts that I need to know. I think that the writing was so good. I never got bored. I never was not interested in something. Every page was like a page turner, even if nothing was happening, because the writing was so beautiful. So I really enjoyed that part of it. I never got bored. That's the best part of a 700-page book. Amren. What is Amren's true form? Was it like a phoenix? I was talking to one of my friends about it that had read it, and I think she was like a fire, like a descendant of a fire god. I don't know. I was very confused. I wanted her to be a dragon. I realized that it would have been predictable because everybody thought she was going to be a dragon, but I also just freaking love dragons and wanted her to be a dragon. I still think that it was great, though. But part of me was expecting someone to be a betrayer in the Inner Court, but then there was, like, that inner seed in me that was like, no, that's not gonna happen. So when Amren brought Feyre to the cauldron and then was like, I'm sorry that I lied to you, I was like, what the crap is happening right now? Amryn of all people. I realized that we didn't get to see much of her in this book, so it was kind of like, what is she doing? But still, caught me off guard, and then that was still like, that inner seed was like, wait a second, no, this can't really be happening. And then it turns out she was just doing it so could be her true form and save everyone. And I'm just real emotional. She was like, I can just knock out all these idiots, just like give me the chance. And so she became this phoenix or descendant of a fire god or whatever, and then she just like flapped, and then everyone was dead, and it was great. And lastly, we have Feyre and Rhysand, who are just like the OTP of all OTPs. I don't know how Sarah J. Maas wrote such an incredible couple, but she did. And I'm real emo every time that I think about them. The character growth with Feyre over these 3 novels is just mind-blowing. She did a complete 180, but she is still completely herself. When her and Az went to go save Elaine from Hybern when she was kidnapped, and she like saved this human girl that was being taken, that was like one of the children of the blessed, and she was just being tortured, and Feyre was like, I don't care, like we're not leaving her, so we're just gonna have to figure out how to make this work. Speaking of, Jurian, I was pleasantly surprised, but also don't really have any thought on him. I was surprised, but it wasn't this like mind-blowing, oh my god, you're not evil. So, I'm gonna be editing this video and think of so many things that I didn't say. I like that we got to see more of Rhys in this book. I know that we saw a lot of him in the last book, but I still feel like emotionally, aside from Under the Mountain, we really didn't see that much of him, and so I liked those 2 chapters from his point of view. I really enjoyed them. I am very, very happy overall. I'm already on my reread. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's definitely going to be one of my favorite books of all time. And the book means a lot to me. It was incredible. It was great. I think that it was wonderfully written. I think that it was wonderfully played out. I think that it was an incredible ending, an incredible wrap-up to Faysand's trilogy, to this trilogy. And I am just very excited to see where it goes next, because at the very end it was like, the series will continue in 2018, and I was like, what the crap? Like, I knew that it was happening, but just kind of like seeing it in the book made me really excited. I loved seeing Feyre weave her way as the first ever High Lady, or at least the High Lady in this book, kind of seeing her like, I am strong, I am the High Lady, I am your High Lady, and all of you are going to listen to me. Not only because I'm a High Lady, although that is a great thing to add to that, but also because I have great ideas, and I saved you all. So just kind of like keep that in the forefront of your mind in case you ever forget or ever try to talk to me. Ever. Okay? Okay. Just seeing Feyre fully grasp her worth in this book was just, I think that it's really important for people to see, and really important for young readers to see even, because she just fully understood how much she's worth, how important she is, how strong she is, and she's not going to let anybody tell her different, and I love her. I think that's a good way to end this. So I hope you enjoyed the video for today. I hope you have a wonderful day or night or whatever time it is, wherever you are, and thank you for watching.